The mechanic stole Galactic Lord's credits to save his dying daughter. The docking bays of Vera Station were always filled with the scent of burning plasma and leaking coolant, a constant reminder of the ships that limped in for repair after skirmishes, smugglers' runs, or simple neglect. Among the flickering lights and screeching metal, Yarrick Mallow, a mechanic with grease under his nails and weariness in his eyes, bent over the exposed reactor core of a hauler. His hands moved with speed and precision, more machine than man, though his body betrayed the toll of long hours and little sleep. But Yarrick wasn't tired because of the work. He was tired because every thought, every wrench turned, was chained to the same image. His little girl, Lyra, lying pale and weak in the medpod back in their cramped hab room. The doctors had said her condition, a failing cellular lattice disorder, could only be stabilized with a Regan serum grown in off-world labs. The cost of even a single vial was beyond anything Yarrick could earn in 10 lifetimes fixing derelict ships. The bill haunted him. Every day he worked harder, but the digits of the med center's debt board kept climbing, and the timeline for Lyra's survival kept shrinking. She had days left, maybe a week. He had already sold their possessions, pawned tools, taken side jobs that bordered on illegal. Nothing was enough. And so, as his wrench slipped and sparks shot across the bay, Yarrick made a choice that would damn him forever. He would steal the Galactic Lord's ship. Rumors spread across the station like plasma fire. Lord Kalendrix, one of the High Lords of the Orion Syndicate, had docked with his personal dreadnought, the Sovereign Fong. Kalen was feared throughout the sector. Merchant fleets paid him tribute. Smugglers gave him a wide berth, and planets bent knee rather than face his wrath. His wealth was measured in credit vaults larger than starliners, guarded by loyal assassins and AI sentinels. To most, stealing from Kalen was suicide, but to Yarrick, it was salvation. Working in the docking bays gave him an advantage. He had clearance, access to maintenance routes, and the knowledge of every panel and vent. He also knew the dreadnought systems would need last-minute adjustments before departure. That gave him a sliver of opportunity. Yarrick didn't plan to take much. Just enough to purchase Lyra's cure. A drop from an ocean. Surely, Kalen would never notice. But oceans notice when drops are stolen. The break-in. The night before the Sovereign Fong's scheduled departure. Yarrick slipped from his hablock. He wore his grease-stained coveralls, blending in with the hundreds of other workers. A satchel hung at his side, filled with tools, a portable data spike, and an injector for breaching security locks. As he approached the dreadnought, its hull loomed above him like the side of a black mountain. Red status lights pulsed across its surface like a heartbeat. He swallowed his fear and stepped onto the maintenance scaffold. Inside, the ship was colder than he expected. Every corridor was polished steel, lined with security drones. Yarrick kept to the maintenance conduits, crawling through ducts and shadowed service ways. His breath echoed in the tight spaces, each sound like a confession. Finally, he reached a vault chamber, a fortress within a fortress. The door stood 20 feet tall, layered with alloy stronger than anything he'd ever seen. But Yarrick wasn't going for the door. He knew there was a secondary transfer port, used for loading credits to external accounts. If he could splice into that, he could skim off what he needed without opening the vault itself. Hands trembling, he connected the data spike. The screen flickered alive, streams of encrypted numbers cascading faster than thought. Yarrick whispered, "Come on, just a little." The spike's algorithm began cycling. Sweat dripped from his forehead. At last, the system hiccuped, a flaw. Credits bled through, redirected to a ghost account Yarrick had set up days before. Enough for Lyra's treatment. More than enough. He pulled the spike free, heart hammering, and stowed it away. He'd done it. Against all odds, he'd robbed the most dangerous man in the quadrant. Now he just had to leave alive. Discovery. The alarm didn't sound immediately. For a few precious minutes, Yarrick retraced his path, crawling through ducts, avoiding cameras. He reached the outer scaffold and thought he might actually make it back unnoticed. Then the klaxons blared. Red light flooded the station. The Sovereign Fong roared with activity as soldiers poured into the bays. Voices shouted. Vault breach detected. Lockdown initiated. Yarrick froze. He couldn't run. The exit sealed shut with blast doors. Soldiers swept the area, scanning every worker. He forced himself to keep moving, walking calmly, his face neutral. But he knew the Syndicate scanners could detect unauthorized data signatures. His tools burned like guilty weights in his satchel. And then, through the chaos, he saw him, Lord Kalendrix. The Galactic Lord stood taller than most men, draped in crimson armor trimmed with obsidian plating. His face was angular, cold, with eyes like molten silver. He carried no weapon. He didn't need one. Everyone in the bay bent their heads. even hardened mercenaries trembling under his gaze. Kalen's voice cut through the alarms like a blade. Someone has stolen from me. From me. They will not leave the station alive. Yarrick lowered his head, praying Kalen's gaze wouldn't linger. His only thought was of Lyra. If he was caught, she was dead. A desperate flight. Back in his hab room, Yarrick locked the door and activated the ghost account. The stolen credits shimmered in the display. He transferred them to the med center, flagging the payment for urgent Regan serum shipment. Relief washed over him. Lyra would live. But relief lasted only seconds. The station's commnet blared. Attention, all residents. A syndicate fugitive is among you. Harboring or assisting them is punishable by death. Submit to security sweeps. Yarrick realized his mistake. The syndicate wasn't searching blindly. They knew. His tools, his spike, his ghost account, all of it left traces. He had hours at best before they tracked him down. He gathered Lyra from the med pod, still weak but breathing stronger. She blinked up at him, whispering, "Papa, where are we going?" "Somewhere safe," he lied, though he didn't know where. He bundled her in a blanket and slipped through the crowded Hablock corridors. The syndicate soldiers were already there, dragging out workers, interrogating families. Yarrick kept his head low and moved through the maintenance tunnels. Every step a gamble. The hunter, they made it as far as the cargo district before he felt the presence. A shadow detached itself from the wall. A syndicate assassin. She was tall, clad in black armor with a mask that revealed nothing. Twin plasma blades ignited with a hiss. Her voice was calm, almost sympathetic. "You shouldn't have taken what was not yours." Yarrick shoved Lyra behind him. "She needed the cure. I had no choice." "There are always choices," the assassin said. She stepped forward, blades humming. Jarrick's mind raced. He couldn't fight her. He barely had a plasma cutter, hardly a weapon. His only chance was to run. He triggered a coolant valve overhead, spraying white vapor across the corridor. The assassin's sensors flared, momentarily blinded. Yarrick grabbed Lyra and bolted through the steam. Behind them, the blades carved metal, sparks chasing them through the dark. The bargain. Hours later, cornered in an abandoned hangar, Yarrick knew they couldn't run forever. The assassin would find them, and Kalen's wrath was inescapable. He needed a different path, one more dangerous in flight. He sent a comm signal directly to the Sovereign Fong. A desperate message. "This is Yarrick Mallow. I am the one who stole from you. Meet me and I'll explain why." It was madness, but Kalen responded. The confrontation. The hangar doors groaned open. Kalen entered, flanked by guards, his silver eyes burning with contempt. Lyra clung to Jarrick's arm, too weak to stand. Kalen's voice was silk over steel. "You have courage, mechanic, but courage will not save you. Why did you steal from me?" Yarrick dropped to his knees, clutching Lyra close. "For her, my daughter was dying. The med center demanded credits I could never earn. I didn't take much, only enough to save her." Kalen studied him in silence. The guards shifted, eager for blood. Finally, Kalen crouched, his gaze level with Lyra's. She blinked at him with wide, fevered eyes. Kalen whispered, almost himself, a father's desperation. Then his tone hardened. "You knew the price. Theft for me is death. What should I do with you?" Jarrick's voice cracked. "Spare her. Kill me if you must, but let her live." Kalen straightened, silent for a long moment. Then, to everyone's shock, he laughed. A man willing to steal from a Galactic Lord, not for greed, but for love. How rare. The choice. Kalen turned to his guards. "The credits are gone, but the loss is nothing to me. What interests me is loyalty. This mechanic has shown more devotion than half my lieutenants." He faced Yarrick again. "You have two choices. Death for you and your daughter abandoned. Or service. Swear yourself to me. Become my mechanic, my servant, my tool. In return, your daughter will be under my protection." Jarrick's stomach twisted. To serve Kalen was to sell his soul. He would be repairing engines of war, aiding a man who enslaved worlds. But Lyra's fragile hand clutched his sleeve. Her life was the only thing that mattered. Through tears, Yarrick whispered, "I swear." Epilogue. Years passed. Lyra grew strong, running to the gilded halls of Kalen's estates. Always watched, always guarded. She had her father, though she never understood the chains around his heart. Yarrick became the master mechanic of the Sovereign Fong, maintaining the engines of destruction he once despised. He carried the weight of every village bombarded, every fleet shattered, knowing his hands had kept the war machine alive. Sometimes, when he looked at Lyra's smile, he told himself it was worth it. Other times, He wondered if saving her had doomed them both to a different kind of death, the slow erosion of freedom under Kalen's shadow. But the choice had been made, and in the silence of the engine rooms, Yarrick repeated the words that had defined his life. I had no choice.